Younger old here, and welcome to my channel. Gonna go into another review of some of the bikes I've owned, and today I'm gonna choose the Honda Blackbird. Now, after the loss of my ZX10, the natural choice of progression I would have been actually the CBR1100, but as I fancied a Honda Blackbird from the word go, I chose one of these instead. Now, it's got nothing to do with the Blackbird had taken the ZZR crown as the fastest bike in 1996. It had nothing to do with it. Who am I kidding? Of course it did. The Blackbird would do 180 mile an hour. I wouldn't, but that didn't really matter. It was a case of mine is bigger than yours. And as I did well with the payout from the ZX10 and selling it as well, meant, I could afford to buy a Blackbird. I have to admit, the Blackbird at the time was love at first ride, and what a bike it was. Mine was a Carb version on a 1997 plate. I had to have my arse surgically removed from the seat every spare day, as I was out on it for every holiday. We toured on it after I'd had the Givey wing wrap fitted with a 3-box setup. The engine was bulletproof and very reliable. After all, it's a Honda. It handled like a dream and did everything I wanted to do and more. The only problem was the regular rectifier, which often failed on the Carb versions, but if you replaced it with the new version from the injection Blackbird, it would run fine and maybe forever. I still did, and I still like the Blackbird looks, although some consider it dated by today's standards, but they are an amazing bike with fantastic reliability. They're certainly king of the CBR range in my opinion. If you're looking for a good all-round sports tourer that will tour well and is sporty enough to keep up with the sports bike, then it's an ideal choice. In 1999, the Suzuki Hayabusa was released, and that actually took the crown away from the Blackbird. Just as a point of interest, Hayabusa stands for Peregrine Falcon, which is one of the fastest hunting dives. It also eats blackbirds, so it's a good bit of marketing there from Suzuki. Anyway, in 2005, a mate decided he was going to get a Hayabusa, and he was looking for a private sale of his injection Blackbird, and he would let me have it for the right cash price. The deal was done, and I was now the proud owner of a 2000 reg Blackbird as well as the Carb one. It was a good time to buy it, to be honest, because I'd had the Carb one for some time and it was starting to show its age and accumulate a lot of miles. Cosmetically, there's actually not a lot of difference between the two shapes. They're really about the same, apart from a slightly different rear light configuration, and over the air intakes at the front, the mesh had been replaced by more of a grid on the injection one. But both mine were even the same colour, black of course. Engine wise, the injection version was about 2 brake horsepower more, but on that kind of power I couldn't even notice the difference. The injection engine was reputed to be a little smoother, and maybe so, but not dramatic. A lot of people still preferred the Carb version at the time. To be honest, I like the injection one, maybe because it was just newer and slightly better tech. As I'd purchased a Harley in between both the Blackbirds, I decided to sell the Carb version to a mate who was going to do it up. He still has it, but having said that, he's still not started work on it all these years later. Now, as I was single at the time and I was basically living near all the shops I ever needed, I just got rid of my car. I just weren't using it, and I just rode my bikes for 4 to 5 years. And you know what? I didn't once miss owning a car. I used to use my bikes for commuting, days out and touring, holidays. But before I married my second wife, who said she would never go on the back of a bike, decided to have a go. So I took her on both the Blackbird and the Harley. She didn't like the Harley at all, which surprised me really, because obviously it hasn't got the performance of the Blackbird. You don't throw it round bends like you do the Blackbird. But no, she actually preferred the Blackbird. So moving on, the miles were now creeping up on the Blackbird and it was looking a little bit tatty. The Harley weren't looking at its best neither really, too much cleaning involved for me. But I went round looking for a trade-in, but the offers I was getting were a little bit low. But I managed to do a deal with a dealer who was prepared to do a straight swap for my Harley for a Kawasaki Gen 1 CBR1100 on an 8 plate. One of the dealers who didn't really want my Blackbird, but I was actually called by one of the staff who worked there and he wanted it, so he actually for his father-in-law. So basically I did a deal on that, sold that one. So I was then just left with one bike, and that was the ZZR14. I've always maintained that if Honda re-released a new version of the Blackbird, I would certainly give it a look. They were then and still are an amazing bike, and if you find one at the right price, you won't go far wrong. I believe the last ones were made in 2007. After they ceased to make the Blackbird, Honda released the VFR1200, a sort of merge between a CBR and a VFR, but at the time I wasn't sure if I liked them. Also, they were new and a bit too expensive. I have to admit, I quite like them now, and their reputation is pretty good. Just one problem with them: they're not a Blackbird. Strange enough, I was talking to a guy just last week who had a Blackbird at the same time as me. His was one of the last ones, and he'd always promised me first refusal. But sadly we lost contact when he decided to sell it. He did mention to me that of all the bikes he owned over the years, and that's a lot of bikes this guy's had, the Blackbird is the only one he wished he hadn't have sold, and he still had. So I hope this video has been of interest to you about my Blackbirds. If so, please do the ticks, like and subscribe, and as always, take care, ride safe, and bye for now.